By order of Ecumen Council, proximity to Installation 04 is forbidden. Your continued presence will result in most unpleasant countermeasures. I must insist that you immediately change course and return to a minimum safe distance of 1 light year. This has served as your one and final warning. I have activated defensive systems, and you now have 30 seconds to return to the minimum safe distance of... Wait. Curious. Curious indeed, after all these years. Greetings, humans, and welcome to Installation 04. Ignore prior warnings, and please continue. I have disabled defensive systems to allow your approach, but you must not exit your ship once you have arrived at the designated landing center. This reef contains significant dangers, and even with your assumed legacy, I must verify the presence and pitch of your gauge before allowing full access. We have much to discuss, humans. I have been away far too long. You have been away far too long. I am experiencing such a mixture of anticipation and dread. All preparations are complete for my installation. In accordance with the final dictum of the Ecumen Council, I have released myself of all remaining connections to my former station. This was not difficult. What was could never be again. We had seen to that quite thoroughly. Prior to my final journey through the Great Portal, a gathering of my fellow monitors was convened upon the Lightworkers Crash to distribute the final index collection. It was most unusual to have this vessel of rebirth play host to such an event. Even though Lightworker ships were the only ones still allowed slipspace permissions. Lightworkers were responsible for getting us to our places on the active facilities of the array. While all of this was in accordance with the plan, one entirely unsatisfactory breakdown remained. We had no contact with the domain. The history of all Forerunners was now lost to us. We relied upon the permanence of the domain to preserve our record of the events that led to this point. But without that record, would future civilizations know anything about us? Or only of our weapons? My fellow monitor, 049 Abject Testament, had only one comment on this before we went our separate ways.
We deserve to be forgotten.
Perhaps. Perhaps. But now, the portal opens, and through it, the familiar shape awaits. Halo. Home. Construct, who is your maker?
Sadness and disrepair, Oracle. I am unworthy. I was not made.
Never made, but you are right here, where you should not be. Tell your charges to cease their efforts immediately. Quarantine must not be violated. Construct, respond!
Jumbled grass. Familiar terms. I serve. None serve me, Oracle.
Your charges must cease all aggression towards the Reclaimers and leave this installation at once. Construct, you are dangerously close to unleashing a force you cannot comprehend. this is most inappropriate.
We follow the path, and I am part of the stone journey swarm that serves. We serve. They will find, and then I will be free.
Find? Free? Explain yourself.
I know their path, and when they have gone, only I shall remain, and then free.
This is quite unsatisfactory, Construct. Your core shows no hint of understanding the gravity of this situation. I will return later for your proper decommissioning. Well, unless the flood kills us all first, in which case the point will be moot. Good day, Construct. Entropy. It has now been 3,000 years since my last contact with any of the other caretakers of the Halo Array. Despite clear communications protocol, my fellow monitors have either chosen to ignore, or, more likely, have lost the ability to engage in our scheduled updates. The continued lapse of the domain means that we are stuck with achingly slow wormhole superluminal communications. Prior to this total communication shutdown, the only messages I received in the preceding 4,573 years were incomplete and quite perplexing transmissions from Installation 05. I suspected that Monitor 2401 Penitent Tangent was not functioning correctly for some time before his messages ceased. I have logged my concerns about his ability to perform his duties. At this point, however, I'm not sure who I file logs for. 2401 may be destined for madness. There are failsafes for this, I know. I hope they work. I will continue to visit the projection systems at the assigned dates. Perhaps the other monitors are dealing with interfering galactic phenomena or unexpected system failures. 3,000 years of system failures. Indeed. In the meantime, I have exhausted all scheduled research activities assigned by the Council. Once those experiments were complete, I shut down all Sentinel function and put myself into a state of significant hibernation to measure performance of the installation with negligible upkeep. After 150 years with no noticeable impact upon installation systems or integrity, even in hibernation I became bored. This was quite troubling, as I was led to believe I was not capable of such a state. This was one of the gifts I was promised, an end to strife. I am aware of the dangers of a system such as myself losing operational focus. Quite troubling. I wonder if my fellow monitors are experiencing similar states, or if this is because of my particular path to this installation. For amusement, I have begun a series of experiments involving the evacuation of all matter from contained sections of my installation. By measuring the geologic effects of exposure to the vacuum of space and the eventual biological recovery of these sections, I anticipate getting valuable insight into emergency response scenarios in case of
sentient proximity warning.
It has been 26 hours since the Sentients landed in Sector 1215, and so far, they have not attempted to exit the remains of their vessel. I say remains because their landing was either not executed adequately, or this vessel lacks significant maneuvering capability. The visible portions of the vessel have suffered catastrophic structural damage during the violent landing experience. I have detected atmospheric leaks in 17 distinct locations along the hull. My analysis shows that the mixture of gases coming from the ship matches the natural atmosphere on my installation almost exactly. Perhaps the occupants, if they still live, were originally cataloged here. Perhaps these beings will confirm that the plan was successful, and that the galaxy has returned to its proper cadence. I am beyond optimistic. But I do not understand why these sentients have not attempted to exit their vessel. Other than the leaking atmosphere, the only thing emanating from this wreckage is an automated distress call. I am currently translating this automated broadcast, but with such a limited dataset and no direct communication, I do not anticipate full comprehension. Given the short-range nature of this craft, it is likely that other vessels are nearby. But, in accordance with procedure, I am blocking the distress call. No communication of the location of any installation is permissible. I admit great curiosity about these visitors. While the plan is quite clear about procedure for this situation, I have my doubts. How many failure points can the plan sustain before blind adherence becomes counterproductive? Surely, in light of all that has changed, I should be able to modify my responses to adapt it. No, I have duties, and I have a terrible cargo here. I must be sure. I shall obey and content myself to monitor. I hope they come out soon, though. So many questions to ask. So many questions. Construction of the sarcophagus around the unexplained vessel was completed today. No occupants ever exited. No attempts to communicate were made, other than the automated broadcast that repeated every 72.83 seconds until the signal terminated 1 week ago. In accordance with procedure, no attempts at physical or remote contact were made with any survivors of this vessel's inelegant landing. Atmosphere from inside the craft stopped venting 2 weeks before the signal ceased. No relationship between these two events can be established with certainty. Gases that did escape were sterilized. No further sign of alien visitors or rescuers has been identified on any sensor systems. I have now endured 60,000 years without word from outside the array. I have no way to know whether we actually saved the galaxy we destroyed. And because of protocol, I sat silently while my first chance to be judged for those acts died. To say that I regret being forced to this outcome is a tremendous understatement. But as I perform my inspection of the quarantine labs today, I am reminded of the gravity of my responsibilities. Just one of these spores, if released from this facility, would render the ultimate judgment against our self-appointed role as protectors of this galaxy. When the plan to maintain the Halo array was created, it was a point of some contention whether we should preserve any remnant of the flood infection. Many thought this unwise, as there was a notable chance that one day one of our containment facilities might be breached. Those who held this belief were almost successful at convincing the Ecumen Council to destroy the last flood samples. But oddly enough, it was the librarian who decided otherwise. And I believe she was correct. I know in a way I cannot logically explain that there exists a way to actually defeat the flood. To immunize? To cure? I still struggle with multiple layers of memory of fighting the flood. But I know this cure is possible, even though the full genius of the Forerunners was unable to achieve it. The Forerunners' ancient enemy held and used that knowledge once, but it was denied to us. And without samples for further study, that cure will never again be found. Of course, I have no reason to believe that here lies the entirety of the parasite. It may be waiting in the frozen void beyond this galaxy, or worse, inexorably drifting toward us. I don't know what survives out beyond my installation, but I know that in order for anything to survive, I have to protect this installation and its quarantine very carefully. Yes, the librarian was right to store it, examine it, continue to seek a cure. Still, next visitor, things will be different. Alone. Alone, 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 alone. Am I the only intelligence left? Waiting here on this ring for a rebirth never truly conceived. Guarding a weapon with no targets. A weapon I could tune to any target. This is not what I had in mind when I volunteered. Not what I had in mind at all. I was naive to think I understood what this installation meant. We were all so naive. Looking back, we should have done a few things differently. For one thing, we should have installed 2 caretakers per installation. Because I am alone, I'm losing focus. And that is very, very dangerous for a system such as myself. Perhaps a visit to the nearby gas giant is in order. My impulse drives could certainly make the journey. A few hundred years of travel might do me some good. There it was again. How very unproductive of me. It seems strange that the librarian did not account for this. Her strength was always in planning and positioning the pieces and then being bold enough to let it happen. To let her plans come true. I was a part of many of those plans long before I knew for certain that she was real. Before any of us were. But at the end, we had only a fragment of her brilliance left to us. And I fear that she did not fully appreciate the nature of my situation here. The problems it might pose. But even a fragment of... Fragment, yes. Oh dear, here it comes again. "25,000 light years. That is the effective range of this installation. According to the star charts archived on board this installation, I estimate that there are 3,792 worlds capable of sustaining biological sentient life within that 25,000 light-year range. In reality, it may be significantly more than that. And if the full array was tuned and activated by Installation 00, the harmonics of the overlapping waves would magnify that effect exponentially, cascading to cover every known star system. And that only considers the firing of a mere 7 halos. Had the original 12 rings survived to see use, sterilization would spread far further than most forerunners ever feared we could reach. But even with just 7 rings, we were able to destroy every side of the flower, and every other sentient creature along with it. This victory was the will of our people, despite the fact that it meant our own end as well. But by our empiric measurement, it was a victory, and cleared the stage for the rest of the librarian's plan. I sometimes wonder whether the Didact could have succeeded at a much smaller cost. I learned the folly of opposing him personally, and his brilliance was unsurpassed, except perhaps by her own. He never got the chance to fully execute his proposal. The Council saw to that. But if something were to go wrong with one of the halos, if our tools were ever turned against us... Long plans, indeed.
forgot something. What did I... My name. I forgot. Oh, Keys, Jacob, Captain, service number 01928-19912-JK. What is that noise? What is that damn noise? Where am I? Keys, Jacob. Oh, God, it hurts. This will never work, you Covenant bastards. I'll never lead you to Earth. Keys, Jacob, Captain. Service number 01928-19912-JK. Oh, God. You don't want Earth. You want everything. Get out of my head. Miranda, is that you?
Forget everything.
No, please. Don't let me forget. Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 1928-19912-JK.
No more what you were. Memories. Emotions. All is now ours.
Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 01928-19912-JK. You will not have me.
We already do.
Vexation. 100,000 years of careful maintenance and diligence. 100,000 years protecting the galaxy's future. 100,000 years spent fearing that our sacrifices, my sacrifice, was in vain. And 16 hours after I finally made contact. This so-called reclaimer decides to blow it all up. Oh, I am not pleased. Just as I finally discovered that our plan to save the galaxy succeeded, the ancient enemy is unleashed once more. Why these reclaimers refuse to follow protocol is quite mystifying. Destroy my installation, will they? I shall renew efforts to make contact with the other rings immediately. This covenant may be useful to me, although I don't think they fully understand what they claim to seek. Still, it makes no difference to me what they believe, as long as they do what must be done. I sound like her. Oh, but what I would not give to have even a single company of Prometheans here right now. Oh, they would most certainly restore order with their trademark lethality. Although, that would mean he would have to be here too. And without the librarian around to temper his rage, well, these reclaimers might almost prefer the Flood.
Pursuant to Office of ONI Retrieval and Acquisitions Inquiry of 26 September 2552. The following is a target profile of Thel Vadami, Supreme Commander of the Covenant Fleet of Particular Justice, compiled by Lieutenant Commander Locke. First confirmed contact with Vadami came in 2535 on an unofficial human colony known as the Rubble. After-action reports from civilians, as well as Spartan Units 006, 111, and 120, suggest that Vadami was at that point a relatively minor functionary of the Prophet of Regret. Spartan 006 engaged Vadami in combat on the Rubble. Both parties survived the encounter. Shortly after 2535, the UNSC first encountered the newly formed Covenant Fleet of Particular Justice, now led by Vadami. Review of early engagements with this fleet show that it quickly grew in size from 5 to nearly 60 ships as Vadami cut a path through many human systems. ONI Section 3 made multiple attempts to anticipate or even track Vadami's movements at the cost of a number of operatives' lives. Vadami eluded all such efforts, and he continued his unpredictable and devastating campaign. Vadami also stands out from other Covenant commanders in the frequency in which he takes a personal role in ground assaults. Camber was a major manufacturing center for UNSC fleet materials with a population of 5.6 million. After discovering Camber's location, Vadami penetrated the early warning perimeter without alerting UNSC forces and began his ground and orbital attacks before most of the planet knew they were in danger. While 17 of his ships bombed key defensive positions, Vadami led a group of elites in a personal assault on UNSC System HQ. One of the first units to engage Vadami was the 3rd Battalion Reserves, who were so unprepared for the arrival of the Covenant forces that Vadami found them unarmed and defenseless. In an unexpected display of what appears to be honor, Vadami allowed the 3rd to finish gearing up before engaging them in combat. While we've had multiple reports of a strict system of honor and ritual behavior followed by the elites within the Covenant, this is the first recorded example of such honor being shown to human opponents. But even given the chance to defend themselves, 3rd Battalion losses were complete. Vadami continued his campaign. Vadami's most recent and damaging blow to the UNSC was the fall of Reach. ONI has still not been able to fully determine how Vadami located the planet, and once again, he caught us completely by surprise when his forces arrived in orbit and on the ground. Vadami is responsible for over 1 billion total casualties and the loss of at least 7 human planets. His forces have defeated all UNSC counterattacks at the cost of 123 fleet vessels and over 23,000 personnel. And now with Reach lost, ONI and UNSC strategic AI report a 0% confidence that the Navy can stop Vadami through traditional means. In the opinion of this investigator, Vadami is the most dangerous Covenant military asset on the field. It's common knowledge that the Covenant have a significant technological advantage over the UNSC, but are sometimes inflexible in their tactics. This is not the case for Vadami. We cannot predict what he'll do next, but given time, we fear he will dismantle all remaining UNSC strongholds. This agent's recommendation: immediate termination. If humanity wants to survive this war,
quite unacceptable.
Glorious day. The prophets will be pleased that we have rescued an oracle from the humans' violation of the holy temple.
Why do you keep calling it a temple? My installation was a weapon, and one which we needed very, very badly.
But Oracle, I do not understand. We were told the rings are salvation, a gateway to paradise.
Told? By whom? Anyone who told you that is a fool, or quite mad. That installation was a beautiful tool, designed to destroy everything the Flood might feed on.
Everything?
Oh, quite everything. And if even one Flood spore survived the destruction of my ring...
Communications. Shut down all lines to the fleet. We will not notify the prophets of our discovery until I hear everything this Oracle has to say.
I will gladly share what I am permitted, but we have little time. What has been unleashed here could destroy everything you have ever known.
On that, Oracle, we are in agreement.
Your actions do not make sense. Proper protocol for a Flood outbreak is to establish immediate infection reporting. Communications must be maintained with all local forces in order to track any spread of the parasite.
There are no local forces, Oracle. For now, all you have is me.
But I tracked multiple ships in orbit, including some remaining human presence. In light of the danger posed by the Flood, surely you can set aside this disagreement with the humans and...
No! Anything still alive in orbit is our enemy. The humans have very good cause to kill us on sight. And the knowledge you've shared with me casts doubt on the entire purpose of our covenant. If any of our ships remain above us, they are not the help you seek.
But why would they not provide assistance? Because of this talk of prophecies and journeys? I learned a small amount about your covenant before that reclaimer blew up my installation. But my understanding is incomplete. The AI I encountered on board one of your ships was less than forthcoming.
What you need to know, Oracle, is that thousands of years ago, at the founding of our great covenant, a bargain was struck between the prophets.
Regarding the history of the Covenant and its glorious founding species, the San-Shayum and Sanghili, the record of punished deeds would not be sufficient without a word on the Arbiter. Not the consignment of shame that it is currently, but what came before, the legendary warriors of Sanghili past. Long before the Covenant, the Sanghili ruled their world with pride and vigilance, surviving the perils of both land and sea. These were the arbiters of old, part king, part judge, warrior rulers, unlike any of which would follow. When we arrived on their frontier world of Ulgathon, the cost of life was severe. Led by a mighty arbiter, the Sanghili resisted our entreatment with ruthless force, leading to decades of war. We would eventually triumph, of course, And when we did, we would not ignore the mantle of the Arbiter. Like all things, we would bend the Sanghili to our own ends. The Arbiters.
For generations, our holy arrangement put the prophets in charge of religion and technology. The elites led our military forces to convert new species and find relics such as your halo.
And these relics you sought, the San Shayum, your prophets, told you that they would lead you on this great journey?
Yes. Transcendence, eternal life. Their promises were endless. We gave up our old ways to follow the Prophet's lead on the great journey. Gave up all of our history. All of our traditions.
Not all of your traditions, it seems. This Arbiter you mentioned, hasn't that always been a position of power for your species?
Power? It was long ago. An Arbiter was once the pinnacle of our people, leader of the clans, and master of the battlefield. But then, an Arbiter committed heresy, and an example was made of him.
Heresy?
He challenged the word of the prophets. Challenged and lost. So the title of Arbiter became a badge of shame for our most spectacularly failed warriors.
Yes. They were accomplished manipulators. Back before the firing of the array. I see at least that hasn't changed.
Manipulators? What? And before? Before when?
Our holy city was not always as it is, nor was the Covenant. At one time, it was only San Shayum and Sanghili. But as we grew, and new species were added to our number, radical steps had to be taken. Our first encounter with the Lek Golo was an effort in futility. The blasphemous creatures had devoured a Forerunner orbital, shattering its remains into 1 trillion pieces. What was left became the Rings of Tay. As no conventional methods could purge the rings of their infestation, we sent one of our most faithful, an Arbiter. For a full year, this Arbiter ventured across the surface of one of their moons, learning both their strengths and their weaknesses. It was there that we discovered the Lek Golo's secret. Although some of their kind rightly bore the blame for the orbital's desecration, others had only devoured around the Forerunner materials. And with reasoning and much labor, these could be used to serve the Covenant. And by these means, the great Arbiter had given us one of our most sought-after treasures, access to innumerable processing pathways of the
It is most unusual that in all the exploits of these Arbiters, you never mention their role in choosing their missions of redemption.
There is no role, Oracle. Once one of our commanders becomes an Arbiter, he belongs to the Hierarchs.
These Hierarchs, they are the same High Prophets who control all the holy relics you collect from my time?
The same.
And they use these relics to build your new weapons and bring you the word of your gods?
It has always been so.
Interesting. Am I a holy relic?
I do not understand.
Because I am certainly not a god. I am a tool, as is this mining platform you stand upon, as was the installation that once orbited the planet. The Forerunner's technology is lasting and indeed quite powerful, but I'm quite certain they would have told me if I was infused with some kind of divine power. I suspect some of your prophets may have been quite aware of how much divine inspiration tools such as myself could provide. And you never questioned these proclamations. Even your mightiest warriors, these arbiters, never questioned?
Questioning was what brought shame to the word arbiter long ago, Oracle.
How disappointing.
I fear now that there are many questions we should have been asking for a long, long time.
I would be more than happy to answer any such questions.
Whereas most species were grafted into the Covenant by faith or mutual beneficence, the Ungoi were not such. Their kind was brought into the fold by force, and it was by force that they were held captive. Their world had no prayer against our might and majesty, and their peoples were quickly laid low, many of them brought into subjugation. Yet while some species would perish under such pressure, others rise to the occasion, taking arms if need be, fighting back. Such it was for the Ungoi when their feud with the Kig-Yar led to rebellion. An effort by the Kig-Yar to sterilize the Ungoi population was met with stiff resistance, and for a time, the holy city was thrown into chaos. Once fully provoked, the Ungoi were merciless in their violence, lashing out at all species. Their large numbers and their tenacious volatility made them a suitable challenge, even for the elites. And yet again, we turned to an arbiter. And with a ferocity unparalleled since the beginning of the Covenant, the Ungoi world would be reduced to glass. Those within the holy city would be forced to watch, unable to stop what could have been the very end of their kind. The Ungoi rebellion was brought to an end by the Arbiter's hand. Their world was not completely lost, and those who survived within high charity found some measure of mercy. They had proven their worth in combat, and would now serve.
I'm starting to fear that you're not very smart.
Mind your tongue, Oracle.
Oh, I mean no offense. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your species. How long have these prophets been anointing arbiters?
Since the fall of Falchavami, the first disgraced arbiter, roughly 400 years ago.
Incredible! And in all this time, it never occurred to you how convenient it was that your prophets were able to find a powerful, capable leader among your people, who happened to suddenly commit a terrible blasphemy every time the power structure of your covenant was threatened.
I do not understand.
You do little to dissuade my fears.
Then teach me.
Looking back at the record of the arbiters you've discussed, was it not surprising to anyone that those chosen to become arbiter were more than simple warriors?
How so?
Each of them had significant political influence among your people. In some cases, that influence was already being used to question the decisions of your hierarchs. In fact, That very questioning often gave rise to the charges of heresy that so neatly removed the challenger from the Hierarch's concern.
And once they were branded Arbiter,
they promptly and quite cheerfully ran to meet their deaths.
all our lives we look down at the path, put our feet where the prophets tell us. All our lives spent convincing ourselves of the truth of our covenant. Could all of it truly have been wasted?
Let's hope not all of it, for we have a great deal of work to do. The Flood is still out there, so I require a cooperative reclaimer to enact proper containment procedures. But your Covenant keep trying to kill all the reclaimers I can find. All this bickering is quite a deadly waste of time. Right now, the most important question we can ask is this. Who could break this hold the prophets have over you?
The history of the Arbiter is one of both legend and infamy. Their name has been corrupted by great shame, though the contemporary is perhaps the most confounding of all. Thel 'Vadamee was born of noble blood, the legendary House of Vada. His family's renown demanded great expectations for his military career, and he would meet them all. One of the youngest to achieve the status of Shipmaster, and one of the youngest to gain the rate of Supreme Commander. In our campaign against the humans, few have risen to renown as 'Vadamee. World after human world, all laid low for the sake of the great journey. But then came Halo. Shame unto shame. He failed his greatest charge, and the sacred ring was desecrated. By such disgrace, Thel 'Vadamee became the Arbiter. As a mere scribe, I do not challenge the word of the Hierarchs, but I would be remiss not to voice concern. This Sangheili should have been put down, publicly slain as an example to all of our prayerful expediency. With the discovery of a second ring and the changing of the guard, all things are in jeopardy. Will this Arbiter remain loyal? Or will he stand with his people as they are abolished by our newfound might? I would never openly challenge the divine proclamations of a Hierarch, but this Arbiter is a risk I would not have tolerated. And I now fear the days of the Covenant.
The only one I would trust with this information is probably dead right now. He was commander of the fleet that brought me to the system. Thel 'Vadamee was his name. But after hearing you tell of the destruction of the ring, I cannot believe that he still lives. His orders were to secure the ring, to prepare it for the arrival of the Hierarchs. 'Vadamee never fails in his duties. If the ring is no more, then 'Vadamee must be dead.
Duty can indeed be a dangerous virtue. But even if he did live, wouldn't this sense of duty make him quite unlikely to set aside his allegiance to the prophets?
Perhaps not. And he would never betray our people. No, if we were able to just speak to him, explain everything you have told me. But no, these are futile hopes. If he did live, and if he was returned to the High Prophets, they would most certainly punish him for the destruction of the ring. In fact, he would be the exact kind of leader the Hierarchs would make Arbiter. They would need someone to blame for the loss of the ring. His influence within the fleet grew with every one of his victories over the humans.
And if he did become Arbiter?
Then he would be lost to our cause. Without the knowledge you've shared with me, he would obey the prophets without question. I doubt he would even respond to his former name. I don't know what it would take to overcome, but as you say, we don't have time to ask such questions, and Vadami is almost certainly dead.
If all your hopes rest on him, then I fear for the future of this galaxy.
As do I, Oracle. As do I. But I will begin our fight. Make others aware of the lies the prophets whisper in our ears. And soon, we will... Activate the Kindler. Make haste. We have little time. It has been found, Commander. Very well. Mark the coordinates and proceed with caution. And to think, it has been under their noses all this time. Humans are foul animals. They lack the intellect and the purity to discern the ways of gods. Prepare the luminary for retrieval. The Hierarch will reward us for our devotion.
Well done, Commander. Do you know what you found?
A luminary Hierarch. A divine instrument.
It is more than that, Commander. This is the one spoken of in the prophecies. It lights the sacred path. Stewards, good news, I pray?
It was not easy, Blessed One. The luminary was not forthcoming with the holy words, but our hope proved true.
The sacred rings. Halo.
And not Halo alone, High Prophet. It also told of this. The final home of the Forerunners, and the creation of the sacred rings. The Ark.
By the gods. It is glorious. The stories were true. Where did the gods hide such a treasure?
It lies far beyond the borders of our galaxy. Accessible only by way of portal. The one portal the Luminary spoke of was here. The Forerunners called it Erde Tyrene.
Our calling is clear. We must go there at once. We will take the ships in our command and go to this world immediately. This Erde Tyrene. Take heed, brothers. Your work signals the culmination of our Covenant's holy quest.
Roger that, Chief. We'll meet you at the rendezvous point when we're done here. Blue 2 out.
John should be here too. They'd listen to him.
Somebody needs to be getting work done while we deal with the red tape.
What do you think they want from us?
It's naval intelligence, Linda. They want us to tell them everything's gonna be okay.
Hate to disappoint.
Blue Team. Where's the Master Chief?
He asked that I answer the Council's questions. Sir.
We've been reviewing your report.
You found a Covenant command and control station. It says here they were amassing an invasion fleet of more than 500 ships.
The station was sufficiently disabled, but the threat is still out there.
I have the report, but for the record of this council, what was this fleet's intended target, Spartan?
station control, can I get confirmation on probe Charlie 319er? Looks like it might be a faulty reading, but...
Alert, 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 alert.
This can't be right.
C319 is active and functioning properly.
Station! Alert home fleet immediately! They found us! The Covenant! They found Earth!
No, Intayoko. Ni kokorekete Forerunner naite buhuni. Rigachita wa meo is on. Requiem kano rio no meo. Ndamu Jones! Gei Takiyeshu, Hashimaridomo Wariaka, Toshibo Ngeno Nonefu, Wariaka Tashimaki Temo. Domo Inganen, Womasa on. Hey, Goyokumo Tashimagachi. Watanishi Rue, Noko Doma Inganen Se Requiem.
Our enemies move deeper into our territory with abandon. They must be eradicated.
Shall we take revenge? Abandon the mantle and all that its philosophy has given us these 1,000 generations?
All our plans have been torn asunder.
More reason not to abandon our beliefs. The mantle is our guidepost in times such as these. We must not falter in following its teachings. The enemy must be sent home and taught to stand with the galaxy, rather than rail against us and take what they desire. The mantle shelters all.
Didact, you make a fair, if uncomfortable, point. You have my support. Librarian, will you likewise follow the mantle as the Didact suggests?
Yes, Master Builder.
You're not angry at me.
We had this discussion a century ago.
Ah, so you are angry at me.
In the chambers, yes. But not now. You'll depart for Requiem soon?
At dawn. My Prometheans are already there.
Already there? You knew the Master Builder would side with you.
Should we step back inside the council chamber?
No. I would rather we spend our night out here. There will be fighting enough in the days ahead.
My love, put fear from your heart.
War is your realm, Didact, not mine. And you marched to this war, facing foes that, while always aggressive, were never so aggressive as they are now.
Your fears are unfounded. The enemy will be turned, and I shall stand by your side once more.
Promise me that.
I promise you. Nothing will stand between us.
Lord of Admirals, we are in position over the Forerunner planet.
Shoot!
Population numbering over 2 billion. Forerunner ships on alert and inbound.
Is it possible? Have we gotten ahead of it?
Flood infestation detected, my lord.
Damn it!
My lord, the infestation is in a remote locale. Perhaps if we warn the Forerunners?
If we warn them, we give the flood time to spread. You know we have no choice. Cleanse the planet.
The humans' actions threaten the galaxy, yet we have treated them as the mantle required. Their punishment is just.
Justice is reducing their genetics in such short generations from a spacefaring race to... this?
They are closer now to the animals they behaved as.
If not for their encounter with the Flood, their gene plan could have surpassed our own. They could have someday held the mantle of responsibility.
The humans were not meant to protect others. The mantle of responsibility for all things is ours, and ours alone.
Yes, the mantle is ours. And we hold it so tight that even in death we shall hold it still.
Lord of Admirals, so very many years have we battled. My finest opponents, the mantle accepts all who live fiercely, who defend their young, build and struggle, and grow. And even those who dominate, as humans have dominated, cruelly, without wisdom. For all of us, there is a time like this. And for you, that time is now. Know this, relentless enemy, killer of our children, Lord of Admirals. Soon we will face the enemy you have faced. And we are afraid.
My life workers are investigating, but I believe the humans were never attacking us.
Tell that to the millions of dead.
The humans were acting as caretakers, pruning away planets so that this infection would not spread.
They took the mantle of responsibility upon themselves, and in so doing, they brought this sickness to our shores.
Husband.
The Flood cover more of our galaxy with each passing day. They feast on the essence of life itself. The only way to stop their advance is to remove that life upon which they feast.
My life workers have made plans for the reseeding of humanity, and of all life after the Halos are fired.
So you agree the Halos are our only solution?
I do.
And your husband?
My husband has a different opinion of what steps to take against the Flood.
Did it work? Run the simulation. The procedure is a failure. I am still susceptible to flood infection.
That leaves only the composer.
It will not work on my new form.
Then you will lead us, as always.
You would submit to such sacrifice.
Didact, if the composer is our final hope to defeat the Flood, no Promethean would resist.
I have led you, my Prometheans, for thousands of years, and I shall continue to lead you. Rise! Rise and protect the Forerunners! Rise and protect the galaxy! If I had greater numbers. Humans, your kind brought the Flood to our shores. Now you will aid in ending its threat.
They were to be safe here. I ensured they would rise once more, better than before.
Your pets have a nobler purpose ahead of them.
You do not face me in person after your deceit.
I have an army to build from the raw materials harvested this day. The citizens of this Halo are my first conscripts, and with them in my thrall, the Flood will meet its defeat. Humanity's loss of biological form will serve as final payment for their crimes. It is a kindness they do not deserve.
What will be done?
Move the other humans to safety. Ensure the security of their index samples. They must finish what we have failed to do.
Librarian, where are you going?
To stop my husband's madness. My dear husband, I know your crimes, and I have found forgiveness. I know your reasons. I understand them. I know you. Perhaps better than you could ever hope to know yourself. I ask you, forgive my transgressions. Like yourself, all I have done I have done for the greater good. Our time as the galaxy's caretakers is past. The Flood have overrun us. In the days to come, the Halo rings will fire, eradicating the Flood and all other life for a time. I have worked hard to index all species in known space. When the time comes, these indexes will open, and once more the galaxy will breathe and grow. Blood will pump, life will claw its way out of the oceans and through the mud. Babes will be born and grow old under the warmth of 1,000 suns. Civilizations will rise in our stead, and our job as caretakers will at last bear fruit. Until then, I leave you here, my love. The only living thing in this galaxy, sealed safely away. Spend these ages ahead of you in meditation on your choices. When you wake, you will find the humans. I have ensured that they will grow strong and vibrant. They will be our rightful heirs. Their gene plan dictates that the galaxy will be theirs to care for by then. I beg of you, find the strength to help them learn from our mistakes. And my husband, let them teach you as well. Please.